Hi, it's Nick with SprinterStore.com, and today we're filming a assembly and installation of a Tech Vanlife Sprinter rear door aluminum gear rack. So we're gonna go ahead and get this thing assembled and get it on the van. What you'll notice with this kit, as we saw in the unboxing, great powder coating and everything, it is bolted together with a whole lot of Allen head metric bolts. These are 5mm Allen on the inside, and this is a 13mm. And then there's a couple of 4mm Allen with a 10mm. So I'm gonna start by, I've laid all the pieces out, and I'm laying out all of my hardware where it's gonna go. Fun trick for any of you guys out there, if you're ever trying to figure out if all your bolts are the right length or which ones are shorter or longer, line them up like this, head to tail. Pretty easy to check. So fortunately in this kit, there's only one size, but I just thought I'd put it in there. All right, so let's gather up our hardware in our correct spots, and we're gonna get this installed. So I've got a few piles of hardware hiding around here, and we should be ready to go. The first thing I'm gonna be doing in this case is I'm going to be bolting together the opening side of the door, because that's where this piece goes, and it's gonna be helping me align everything else. So I've got a 13mm wrench and a 5mm Allen on my ratchet. We're just gonna start with the upper bar. So feed a couple of these through, and it's gonna be a whole lot of get everything started and then use the tool, because otherwise this would take forever. Neat trick for those of you who are doing a job like this, when you have 4 bolts that mount in here, to make it easier to get to the bottoms, just do the bottom 2 first and then put the tops in. Makes it way simpler to get everything aligned. See? Now we can just pop the tops in. Easy as pie. All right, a couple of those in. Let's get this one down. All right, there's those 2. Let's go down to the bottom and grab these ones. All right, those 2 are done now. So now we just swap down to the 10mm for the middle section. All right, now that I have this side all done up, we're gonna go ahead and hop over to the other side and get this bolted up as well. Get those started with my fingers, go around to the top, lift this guy in. That should drop everything in line. Now, due to the very difficult nature of getting in here, I've actually switched away from power tools to hand ratchets, just due to trying to get everything squeezed into the tiny little hole. So get these tightened up, and then we'll get this on the van. All right, now that we've got the last of the hardware in, we do have a couple of screws left right here in my hand. These are gonna be what mounts this panel right over there to your plate, whether it be the Tech Vanlife, or we're probably gonna use something a little different than the original Mercedes, but you'll see that in a future video. So now let's get it installed. Now that we've gotten everything assembled together, we do wanna leave these hinge mounts a little loose just for alignment purposes, and we need to leave this a little loose for alignment purposes as well. So the next step is gonna be to go over to the back of the van, and we have to take off the factory symbol, the Mercedes logo, so that this arm piece can bolt through. As I said, this is a no drill situation, so it only uses factory holes and this lower clamp to hold itself in place. So let's go get that factory logo off. So the factory logo uses a T25, and they're just screwed into plastic, so should be really simple to remove these. Due to the design, you are not able to reuse the factory logo as well, so we will go with the Tech Vanlife for now, but we're having a custom one made, so we'll let you know soon. Once these are done being unscrewed, there is some sticky behind here, so you kind of got to give it a little bit of a pop. And as you can see, just plastic with a couple holes in it. So this gets discarded for now. Okay, so I've grabbed my lovely assistant Carl again, and what we're gonna do is we're just gonna lift this up and get it aligned and get the bolts set in. Here we go. Now in this case, we'll probably swing the door to a 90-degree position, and I will stand on the outside, and I'll have Carl go around on the inside. Carl, the bolts are right there on the table if you would grab some of those. So as I'm putting this in place, there's a little hook on this, and I want to hook that around the bottom, make sure that's in a good position. And then we just align these brackets right here, and this one goes on the top. And Carl, I might have you step around the back and then feed those to me, and I'll grab a couple of the nuts and we'll get them installed. So this is why we've left these loose, so we can get everything in position. Carl's gonna insert the top set of bolts first with their bracket plate, and I'm just gonna thread these on by finger, threading the top one right now. We're just gonna start these to get everything aligned, and then we'll come back and tighten this all up. Now that these two have been started, I can technically let go, and I'm gonna have Carl feed me the bottom two, And we'll align those. Put a set of nuts on those by finger. Now again, just like the other rack, with these you do want the bulb head on the inside because otherwise it won't clear. Now that these are in place, thank you, Carl. The last thing we need to do is use these Phillips screws with small nuts. We're gonna go ahead and tighten these in to the door over here. I'm gonna have Carl hold the wrench, which is a 10 mil by the way, and I'm gonna feed these in. So these are actually gonna go right there, and then Carl's gonna put that in. All right. I'm just gonna give that a couple of turns. We're gonna pass the bottom one in. There's the nut for that. Perfect. Now we're just gonna go ahead and start by tightening this up because this is the one piece that has the most alignment to it. Now we'll move to the top bolt. Okay, so those are in. Now what we need to do is go ahead and tighten up the bolts on the actual hinges over here. And then with the help of lovely Carl here, we're gonna do that now. So I have Carl holding the 6 mil Allen on the inside, and I'm gonna be using a ratcheting wrench on the outside. And we're just gonna go ahead and start at the top here. And as you can see, as I start to tighten this up, it pulls itself into what position it kind of wants to be in. And that's gonna be its forever home. Now we're gonna go down to the bottom hinge. And one last bolt here. All right, and now this thing's well mounted. So the last piece of the puzzle is just to go ahead and tighten up these bolts in here that I left a little loose, and tighten up our bottom bracket that holds it tight to the table, or holds it tight to the door. So thank you, our lovely assistant Carl. Back to more bolts. So at this point, I'm just gonna be using the 13 mil with the 5 and the 15 mil with the 6. So 15 mil and 6 are for these guys right in here. I got them very close, so these should just need a little bit of love. There we go, there's one. All right, so that's those two, and there'll be 2 more down here. Part of the reason we want to leave these loose till the last minute is the fact that this steel bar, which goes all the way through and bolts to this part of the door, kind of is what we use to align everything else. And so once that's in place, we can then mount it up and do all of our final tightenings. All right, now we just have to tighten up a few things down here. So first thing I'm gonna do is draw this up tight with this vertical bolt. Okay, and then we're just going to tighten up the last 2 bolts. All right, so there we are. So we have now mounted our Tech Vanlife rear rack. In one of our next videos, we're gonna mount one of their Trenta boxes to this, so stay forward to that. For those of you following along at home, if you do wanna use the Tech Vanlife patch, which is a pretty nice piece, we are gonna go ahead and remove these 2 screws, and we're gonna bolt this in from the back, and it's what will hold the plate together. Now you'll notice this has 4 bolt holes. The wider ones are in case you need more rigidity. You can drill a couple of extra holes and use these Phillips. We won't be doing that in this case, but let me go ahead and show you how this one goes on by taking these off, and we'll bolt this together. Go. Now for this, we will be using looks like about a 3 or 4 mil Allen. So let me grab that. So to mount the plate, all you do is hold it in place till you can see your threads on the inside. I'm gonna take one of my Allen, pre-start that one, feed it through my hole here, and now just thread it in. Easy as that. Now before I tighten it completely, I will put both bolts in. So let's go ahead and grab the other bolt and get this going. Now that both bolts are in, just gonna tighten everything down and we're good to go. So easy, even I can do it. And there we are. The passenger side rack by Tech Vanlife. This has been Nick with SprinterStore.com.